Chipotle beating expectations in their latest earnings print, reporting an over 8% increase in restaurant traffic in the second quarter. So what's the company doing to adapt to rising prices and deal with consumers pulling back overall? For more on this, we welcome in Peter Saleh, BTIG Managing Director and Restaurant Analyst. Peter, it's great to speak with you. I want to pull this line from your recent note, your investment thesis. You say that you view Chipotle as one of the best positioned restaurant concepts for the coming years due to sales growth, unit economics, long-term potential, and consumer trends. How do you anticipate that growth happening given that they are not going to be raising prices this year, according to this earnings print, and they did mention a couple of headwinds to come?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on. Look, you're getting an acceleration of unit growth from 8 to 10% over the next several years. That is going to be the foundation for their growth. You have this past quarter almost 9% traffic growth. I bet you when you see the rest of the industry, you're going to see negative traffic this quarter for the industry. So they're going to be 8 to 10% above the industry in terms of traffic. They're clearly taking share. They don't need to raise price to drive comp. They're doing it with traffic. So I think that's going to continue. We've got positive traffic in the third quarter. We expect it to continue into the fourth quarter. So I think they've got a lot of growth ahead of them. Yes, it's a little bit disappointing that margins are going to be a little bit weaker in the second half of the year and really third quarter and second half of the year. But I think some of that is based on the investments that they're making. So I still think the best-in-class operator with a lot of growth ahead of them, double-digit earnings growth. We think investors should really be taking a hard look at this with the stock down as much as it has been over the past couple of weeks.
And one of the things you also mentioned is that the portion size issue could weigh on margins. I just want to get your take on this because our reporter on this, Brooke DePalma, was just mentioning to me that the company kind of looked across all of its franchises and really looked at the portion sizing and didn't find too much of a problem. If they didn't find a problem, then why would that lead to some kind of change that would weigh on margins in the future? That makes it sound like they did have an issue that they're changing.
So I think they are trying to get ahead of this. I mean, social media seems to think they have a problem. The vast majority of their stores may not have a problem. So they're investing. Look, they're investing about 50 basis points, in of margin. This past quarter, in terms of restaurant level margin, they were almost at 29%. So I think they can afford to invest a modest amount of margin into some larger portions. I don't think it's the end of the world. It kind of quells the social media issues. So I think it's probably the right thing for them to do over the next several quarters until this issue kind of resolves itself and goes away.
All right, Peter, be honest with me. How are you as an analyst looking at those portion sizes? Are you going to Chipotle's across the country and doing a comparison? What are you looking at?
So I actually had it last night, and I only was able to eat half my bowl, put the other half in the fridge. So I think they are actually doing what they're saying they're doing. But also, in our view, I think if you order online, pick up in store, you're getting a slightly smaller bowl. I would advise that consumers to just go in and wait on the traditional line and get your bowl. For some reason, it feels like it's larger. So, honestly, I don't think this is much of an issue. Keep in mind, they have 3,500 stores and they switch out their server 2-3 times a day. So you've got 10,000 different servers every day. Everybody scoops a little bit different. So I don't know that this is really going to resolve this over the long term. Maybe some more training could help, but I really don't see this as a long-term issue.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting that you talk about the kind of tip for our users here that if you go in person, you get a little bit more bang for your buck. I do want to point out this soundbite we got earlier this morning. Chipotle CFO Jack Hartung joined our program and commented on this issue. Let's take a listen.
We're now focusing on kind of the bottom 10 or 15% of our restaurants. What I mean by that is we're looking for restaurants that have a disproportionate amount of customer comments on portion sizes. We're going back and retraining. We're spending more time with these restaurants. We have 3,500 restaurants. We think 90% of the time or more, the portions are abundant, but let's make sure that 90 turns into 100% of the time so that no customer leaves Chipotle disappointed because of portion size.
Peter, is there part of you as an analyst that feels like the portion size issue that the internet created is just noise for a company that is also dealing with its own inflationary pressures? The cost of food is going up for Chipotle as much as it is for consumers at the end of the day. Do you think that this is a distraction for executives?
It is noise, and it is a bit of a distraction. Clearly, social media has been coming after the restaurant space. We started with Starbucks in late last fall. It continued into the spring this year with McDonald's chasing them on much higher prices, which were also inaccurate. And then they transitioned to going after Chipotle for portion sizes. Look, I've been covering this company for 16 years, going on 17 years. We've had this issue in the past where investors were asking about portion sizes, but it wasn't as widespread on social media. Honestly, I don't see it as an issue personally. Again, I think if you order in store versus online, you're getting a larger portion. Maybe some of those consumers are ordering online. It is a distraction, but I think it's going to be short-lived in our view.
All right, Peter. So the message for investors, go in person, and also sounds like a good time to get in on the stock from your perspective, Peter. Thanks so much for being here. That was Peter Saleh, BTIG's Managing Director and Restaurant Analyst.